Hello, this is Explosion Mode. Here again. I'm here to talk about the Brock Turner case. Brock Turner was put in for 6 months. And the judge that put him in for 6 months was wrong for this. He decided that Brock Turner was to be in there for a short time and let out on a short time. When you're put in jail for being a child molester or a rapist, they give you a very short sentence, and then they reduce that sentence and they claim it's for good behavior. He got 3 months instead of 6 months. I could have told you that was going to happen. He molested a teenager whom was behind the dumpster, drunk out of her mind. He was wrong for that. But in certain states, they allow you to do that. They say it's okay. If you're drunk or you're drugged out of your mind and you're passed out, that it's okay. But in Oklahoma, they changed that law. And the reason I know that is because I signed quite a few petitions against it. Because I don't believe you should be drunk and drugged and raped. I think it's wrong to be raped when you're drunk and you're drugged. Or drunk or drugged. Either way, it's wrong. And they should not be letting people get away with this. But some states allow it to happen. As far as the judge, I signed petitions against him being a judge. They wound up stating he is not allowed to take on cases like this anymore. Now, as far as Brock Turner, he got out on good behavior. Yes, he will be monitored to a degree. He will be wearing his black bracelet. But he can break that bracelet and he can run off and go do what he wants. He can also allow people to sneak in his house. As far as that goes, I knew kids that were going on a child molester's porch. I was walking one to school. And he would go on that child molester's porch and he would walk straight in that child molester's house. And he would have conversations and get newspapers from this guy, because this guy was a newspaper guy that used to drop off newspapers at people's houses and stuff. Yes, he would go hang out with this guy, have big conversations with him. But I told him not to go on that porch. He did it anyway. And he snuck in the house without me knowing. And I'd walk into school. I didn't know he was sneaking in that guy's house. He'd have big conversations with him. I don't know if the guy did him anything, because he didn't tell me anything. I got that guy removed from the area. He was close to a school. I really, honest to God, don't remember his name at this time. And he was so close to a school, I'm like, no, he's like 2-3 blocks away from the school. He needs to move. But in Massachusetts, it's not against the law to be close to a school. Child molesters do have a right to live close to schools, daycares, libraries, museums. Any place a kid hangs, a child molester can live close by. He was allowed to go to that school because his child was going to that school. So he was allowed to be on that part of that area. So I started putting his pictures out from door to door. I was posting his pictures up everywhere, trying to get him to move. And I got fussed at for doing it. But I did it anyway. Because I don't believe that child molesters should be that close to schools. So he got moved. And at the same time he said, okay, I'll just give up. I'll move. You know where he moved to? He moved to 3 different schools. He was close to 3 different schools. He was close to a library. He was even access to pass a couple of daycares. And top it off, a children's museum. Yep. And because he was a newspaper delivery person, he passed all those places in the morning. That's when kids go out and go to school. So of course he could have picked up anybody. He could have done anybody anything. I mean, I'm talking about little kids because that's what he was going after, little kids. In the morning time, I was told he would leave his front door open and watch porn while the kids would pass his door. I was never that knowledgeable of knowing him at that time. That was when he was before my time of knowing him would do that. If I'd have known he was doing that, I would have been reported it. But when I found out he was down there, that's when I started wanting to get rid of him in that neighborhood. And people were telling me stories about how he would put the porno on and he'd have it blasted loud and the kids would be passing his door and people would report him and nothing was happening. But when I got a hold of the news of this, I put his pictures up. He finally got moved, but it was terrible where he was moved at. Now, as far as the case part of Brock Turner being able to get a short life term sentence for molesting somebody, that is wrong. Now, as far as in my sister's case, before my sister's time, Robert Sawyer, her murderer, could have been in jail longer. But he wasn't, because he lied about murdering that little 6-year-old girl, 5 to 6-year-old girl. He was driving around with her dead in his car all day long. He was molesting her while she was dead. He was molesting that little girl while she was dead. When they finally found him, which I don't know where they found him at, and they talked to him, he said, "No, I didn't kill that little girl. She fell out of a high chair." But where did her abrasion marks come from? He scraped her arm up. He murdered this little girl, but she was claimed to have been fell out of a high chair. He murdered her. You know what they gave him? About 1 year and 10 months. You know what he was out on? In about 1 year's time. For murdering a little girl that he molested all day long, driving around with her dead. How can somebody sleep with a corpse? But he did it. And he got good behavior. So years later, he got out, molested and murdered my sister. She went to the hospital in a coma. Yes, she had a coma. And she was pitch black. As far as this Brock Turner dude, he can do something that he shouldn't be doing. He should not be out on good terms. But he's out. Now, us as human beings, we can't stay awake 24/7 to watch him. It's very hard to stay awake 24/7 to watch somebody. We have schedules. We have jobs. Some people are out here working 2 to 3 jobs. Why? Because we have to make a living to keep our cars, to keep our houses, to be able to buy our food, to get stuff for the kids. We have to buy them school supplies. We can't let our kids run around without getting clothes. We have to wash laundry, dry and fold it. We have to do house chores, take care of our animals. We have our hands full. Yes, we can stay up and watch sometimes. I'm not in the neighborhood, but if I was, I would be watching. Because I don't want nothing to happen to anybody else's kids or teenagers. What he did was wrong. And I don't agree with doing it. But once I find out there's a child molester in the neighborhood, I do let people know. Don't let your kids at that house. Now, as far as the workers that are going to be watching him, his parole officer, they have a handful to watch. And they have a life to take care of. And if they have children and animals, they have to take care of them too. And they do have to cook for their husband and keep the house clean just as well. Or wife, whomever they're married to. They can't focus around watching him 24/7 and then watching these 15 to 20 or 30 other people on their list 24/7. It's not easy. Yes, he will have to check in with a parole officer. And if he don't check in, then he can be arrested. If he don't check in, then the next time he'll have to pay more of a fine. They'll double his price. Each time you check in, you have to give in money, unless they don't set you that price. And they do usually charge somebody to go see a parole officer. But you don't show up, you can get arrested, charged again with more money, whatever they choose to do out of that. Now, if they find you fault, then they reestablish that you're still a child molester. You do not clear your history. That means you're still being, I can't think the word. You get a term where they keep watching you. You're on probation, that's the word. You're on probation. If they think you failed your probation, then you have to do those probation years again. If you've got 3 years and you failed them, you still got 3 years. You got 5 years, you failed them, you still got 5 years. But he can still do something to somebody. And I'm not in that neighborhood to watch him. So whoever's in that neighborhood, that's what they'll have to do. If that's what they choose to do. If they go to sleep and choose not to watch him, and he does something to somebody's teenager or whatever, he has to be caught in order to be put back on probation again, put in jail again, and that person that he hurts has to come forward and testify. They should have kept him in jail longer. Or put him in some kind of rehab. Jail is not really a rehab. When you're in jail, you see things you don't want to see. You see murders. You see people being molested. You may be hurt yourself being molested. There's fights, a lot of people beating up each other. This is not really rehab. This can make people rehash. And that's not good either. So, now that I have spoke my mind on this case, and I feel that I've said all I need to say, this is Explosion Mode. Signing off. Everyone, hope you have a God bless day. Hope nothing bad happens to any other people, that there's no more of this going on. And I pray to God he just don't do it again. In Jesus' name.